Welcome to the Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. I'm sorry, I'm chuckling away over my daughter's off camera. It's just very amusing right before we went live. So I'm just going to try and not corpse and move over to whoever we've got in Discord and G+. So a very warm welcome, one and all.
Evening.
How are you?
Chuckling in my live intro. I won't tell you what made me laugh. That's the first time that's happened. How many shows are we on? 2000 and something. First time I've corpsed in my intro. I'm still chuckling now. Do you see what you did there,
How many
Eleanor?
shows did you say?
Sorry again. Say again.
2,000 something. That's a testament. Over 2,000 shows. Well done.
Oh, thank you, Neil. I mean, it was the same yesterday, just one less. So I don't really know I'm getting a commendment for doing it today. But very good. I mean, yes, thank you very much. We were just talking about the book. I'm hoping we can just carry on the conversation as though we haven't just gone live. We'll see how that goes on. We were talking about, I don't even know the guy's name. I've not read this book. I'm sure it's wonderful or not. Who cares? But some dude...
somebody that's coming out with a cheap freaking book. Who cares what his name is?
Some discount book that's coming out. And I'm like, okay, I've just got to say this now. The book that's being produced by me will not be cheap. It won't be discounted. It will be a price, and you'll buy it or you won't. That'll be it. Because it's a reference book, and it'll be priced like a reference book. And the amount of work that's gone into it means that I can unashamedly say that is the price, take it or leave it. And is it good value? Absolutely, without question. I said this just before we started the live show. But at the end of reading Welcome to Flat Earth, that's the current working title for the book, you will be either lacking in comprehension of what you've just read or a Flat Earth ninja at the end of reading it. You'll know each and every argument inside out and back to front to the point where you have the ability to overcome and defend all positions that are put to you in regards to a globe Earth and rebut each and every position that you may have put to you from a globe Earth defender with the assertion that Earth is measured flat in all regards. Examples of how Earth will be referenced as a flat plane to assert that you're on a ball are all contained with references and citations, self-contained within the book. So it's a heavily researched, heavily cited book to reference what flat Earth is. There is no particular discussion about the debate because there isn't one. Hence, it can be called a reference book. Debate about what? Now, again, we were talking about this in the pre-show. There's an assertion from our opponents that we need to be concerned with their appreciation for our comprehension of certain subject matters. And I'm kind of sick of it. You say, I don't understand, Ball Believer, just so the audience can understand where this is all positioned, as I'm doing this all myself. You, Ball Believer, say, I don't understand. I don't care whether or not you think I understand. Likewise, I'm not in ghost forums telling them how they don't understand this, that and the other, because I don't care. Now, the reality is our ball-believing opponents do care deeply about what we do and what we say and what they perceive to be our understanding of things. Now, again, we were discussing in the pre-show how this is pure projection. They would prefer that they don't have to assess these things, therefore it is put upon us to concern ourselves with our comprehension levels that they perceive to be wrong. And it's all kind of sad when you break it down, as I am doing now. Meanwhile, the book won't be cheap. It's going to be good value, though, I assure you of that. Was everybody in the live audience aware that the book has had a change of working title? So up until now, we were, again, discussing in the pre-show whether or not we should have just kept stum about the book and then, when ready, launched it. Now, I didn't get a chance to deliver my absolutely negative response in that regard. I completely disagree. At the point that we were about halfway through was where we started publishing it, or publicising the fact that there'd be a book, because I thought at the process point then, halfway through, we'd be publishing it. But we were really only halfway through. Now, I didn't know that, but having a build-up and people seeing the other half and what we've been doing, I occasionally put out the process on members-only videos. People have seen the spit and polish that's going into the book. They can take heed of how tedious it is to do when I publish that sort of stuff. I'm sure if you're one of my members, you're nodding along, going, yes, quite often we listen to the members-only videos where you're editing the book, and it is quite tedious. For everyone involved, you as a member of the audience just watching from the outside in, Neil sat in a similar position but on the inside, or me watching it happen with limited control while we're at this stage, and batting off people like Neil, also Brian, who would suggest that the book isn't mine anymore because of the stage we're at. So that is also a stressful thing that I have to do currently. It's what friends give you. They're very supportive. Bastards.
I kind of more defend it. Brian really gets on you. I'll throw a couple of digs in here and there just to break your chops.
Well, one was funny. I said it yesterday when you were like, I was talking about getting a voice actor because somebody offered. Someone was like, I'm a voice actor, you want me to read it? Well, hell yeah. Yes, please, because I can get a voice version out or a spoken version out alongside the written version, which is ideal. And it'll take me an eternity to do. I'm not a voice actor. So yes, I was like, that would be wonderful. And then I told people in the chat, by the way, there'll be somebody who reads it, and brilliant. That means that I can then take my time over producing the author-read version. And Neil was like, yeah, they'll have to wait for the author-read version by Adam and QE.
Oh, I did that in chat the other day. I didn't even think you caught that.
Yeah, I caught it.
Oh, boy.
I went and told my wife, I'm like, look, that chain is not mine.
Well, but that's a good idea. You said that somebody else wanted to read it, and then they could have the author's version. That's more revenue streams, yeah.
No. I love how you phrase it. Someone else said they want to read it. No, let's get it clear. Somebody offered their usually highly paid service to me for free. This person makes their living doing that, and they've said, I typically do this for a living, meaning I would charge the big bucks for this. For you, it will be free. That's how it is in reality. Now, that isn't how they put it to me, obviously. Somebody in this social circle, a flat earth debate wouldn't be so crass. This particular individual is definitely not crass. They were very subtle and very polite and, almost made it feel like they were privileged when they're offering me a highly paid service for nothing. You know what I mean? So, I'm surrounded by lovely people, and when they tentatively approach me to offer me a service for free, they do it in the kindest and politest possible way, because people around me, generally speaking, are lovely. It's a really weird life when you think about it, because on the one hand, it's a life of extremes. You've got a group of people who would, I don't know how to figuratively put this, but would rather see me dead. Would hope I would be hit by a bus. And on the other end of the same extreme, right, the other scale with the same people, they're in the same community, right? They're just watching the same videos. They want to help me out in ways that are detrimental to themselves and their own, not well-being, but their own ability to earn money in a given time period in this example, right? That's how much people are willing to help me as an individual. It's to the point where it is like you often can't, you lose the ability to speak, you lose words because you can't quite believe how good people are to you. Yeah? Very touching, gives you goosebumps often. Yeah, that's the community I'm in. A community of vastly different extremes, bizarre that it is. I like the moment of silence, entirely appropriate, because there's going to be people in the audience that think about that and go, you know what, you're right. Where I hang around with flatties, genuine, legitimate flatties, not feast of nonsense spewing garbage wafflers that will tell you about a conspiracy quicker than they'll, tell you that the Earth's not a ball. But genuine flat earthers that just know Earth's flat and want to get on with their day, knowing that we aren't actually on a ball. We can't be, we're measuring it flat. Those people will be very kind-hearted to you. Generally speaking, obviously I don't want to stereotype too much because I'm sure there's some assholes in the flat earth community that know Earth's flat as well. But they'll also be absolutely and acutely aware of just how monstrous some of our hate-spewing, globe-believing opponents can be. "47 people watching. Please share the show if you've just got here. We've only just started 10 minutes ago, but it's nice to see some half-decent numbers 10 minutes into the live show starting. I don't actually have anything lined up to cover, although we might be covering Fight the Flat Earth, Craig. I don't know, did somebody send that link via Teams? Maybe we'll cover that. We should do some housekeeping. It's still early enough in the show. Any scientific evidence? Go ahead.
I put that link in the main chat.
Did anybody grab it and put it in?
I'll put a link for the university, Flat Earth University, into the main text chat.
Yeah, neither of them would reach me.
Yeah, that's all I can do with it.
Yeah, fair enough. Hopefully somebody will vet it and put it under my nose. I don't go in that bit.
It looks bad, actually. It looks like I'm shilling for it. Because it's got put a link in there under my name.
No, I get it. You disclaimed it in the pre-show. But I know what you're saying. Out of context, you just see something in the live stream chat or whatever it's called. I don't go in that bit of the peanut gallery. Like I say, someone would have to dig it out and shove it in my private Teams feed for me to actually put it in.
I'll go.
Oh, thank you, Neil. See how subtly that was done.
Well,
thank you, Neil. Oh, that's kind of you. Saves me going in the peanut gallery, as I call it. Yeah, 52 people watching. Yeah, please share the show if you've not done so already. Smash that share button. The only reason we have got 52 people watching, 10 or 15 minutes into the live show starting, is because there's people smashing the share button. I can tell just by the numbers. So somebody's enjoying what we're talking about and has already shared the show. So thank you very much if you are that person. And if you're not, please share the show. There's only a couple of clicks and you can stick it on your favourite forum, be it Skype or Bebo, MySpace, whatever it is you're using. Just stick it on there and share it out. Big thanks to all who shared already. So, any scientific evidence of gravity?
Which
Don't all go
one?
at once. It's all gone very quiet while I'm loading up a video, which is just when I don't want it to be. But there we go.
I said which one? You said any scientific gravity. Well, there were about 5 from last I heard, maybe more. Which one are you asking for scientific proof of?
I don't know, but why have we been sent to the Flat Earth University? It's just a web page. I thought it'd be a video. What use is this?
I don't know. That's what was in main text chat. That's where they said to go, right?
Oh, okay.
No, look up what I sent. Surf Daddy sent. It should be a YouTube. It should say FTfE
Okay.
versus Dr.
All right, give me a
Stephen
second.
Alonso.
Yeah, I think this was sent by that Daz shill.
Yeah, that was me. I want you to buy it.
You're trying to feast
that's all
this,
I could. That's
feast
all
this
I had a
nonsense,
link
huh?
to. That garbage.
Yeah, just garbage waffle, feast and nonsense. What's going on?
Come on, it's only $7.50.
That's
Well,
what
that does show what Stephen Alonso is doing. That's his thing. Flat Earth University. He has textbooks and a curricula and an app and everything. So that's a valuable link for a little background. But yeah, Daz is kind of sus.
It's sussy, yeah. Okay, well, we've got a link to a video now. Anybody got any timestamps on this? It's 3 hours old long. Is it 2 or 3? Long. Anybody? Don't worry, if not, we'll have to scan through it. Okay, well, let's share the love. Okay, this is Craig McNeil, I think he's changed his channel name. Used to be Fight the Flat Earth. Formerly Fight the Flat Earth, Craig McNeil channel. Please let him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment. That is to say, something that doesn't immediately get removed by the YouTube algorithmic bots, or indeed by the videographer, in this case Craig McNeil himself. Just letting him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite-ish comment. So you can have the fact that we have covered his video alluded to him. Now, based on what I was told in the pre-show about this, we might actually be semi-complimentary to Craig in this. We'll see how it goes. I'm not going to promise anything. Let's just bring up my chat on screen so you can actually see that I've posted a link to this. Just give me 1 second. There we go. So as you can probably see, or can't, there we go. There's the link to Craig's video. The video is entitled "A Flat Earth Debate FTfE versus Fake, quote, Dr. end quote, Stephen Alonso. Stephen Alonso. Okay, so yeah, check it out. Let Craig know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get removed. Did we get any timestamps? Does anybody know where I can jump into this video?
I couldn't stand to watch it for very long. He gets pretty quickly into the debate and accusing Alonso of being a liar. Stick with it for a while. So
well, I'll start it. I'm going to start it relatively randomly at 4 minutes. Is that Craig? My God, he's lost a lot of weight. Is he got cancer or something? What's going on? Craig's lost a shit ton of weight.
Of course he did, wouldn't you? If Earth is proven flat daily?
It's not going to look good for my audience. Let me have a quick look at him. I don't think he doesn't look like he's got any debilitating disease. He actually looks pretty healthy. Good on you, Craig. If you've got fit and healthy, good on you, sir. Good for you.
University of England and Edinburgh University, and I worked very hard and got those 2 degrees. You've never been to an actual university to study and get a bachelor's, a master's, and then a doctorate.
I know we're jumping in late, but relatively 4 minutes. Did he claim he's degree educated? Has he claimed that? Does anybody know?
Yes, he does often.
He does claim that. Okay.
Yes.
And I know many, many doctors, academic doctors, who have worked extremely hard to get their qualifications and become who they are. And it is very disrespectful to all the actual doctors out there to do what you know, Stephen, is a blatant lie.
Yeah, I can understand that for sure. I get where you're coming from. So to clarify, I don't claim to hold government accreditations. My degree is privately accredited through the Journal of Geocentric.
Oh, wow. Did you hear? Can you hear in his voice? I hate to do it because maybe people get annoyed with me pointing these little details out that are subtle audio cues to me. Just as he started to launch into this blatant lie, you can hear the voice box tightening up. And it comes across as like, what, I don't know if you know this word, vibrato, like a wavering of the voice as the voice box tightens. Now, if you're a good singer, you can control that and intentionally put vibrato into a nice note that you're singing. In this case, that is not what's occurring. His throat's tightening up as he lies, and you can hear it. Just listen.
Understand that for sure. I get where you're coming from. So to clarify, I don't claim to hold government accreditations. My degree is privately accredited through the Journal of Geocentric Cosmology. And then
That's
the
not
second
an actual degree, then it's just something you're saying is a degree. It's like awarding yourself a participation trophy.
Yeah, I completely agree, Craig. So what he's doing is he's accrediting himself with the School of Hard Knocks. Yeah. When someone says, I've got a degree from the School of Hard Knocks, just meaning that you've been out and about doing your thing and therefore you're experienced and you'll call that the university grade. It isn't. It's just making it up to make it seem like you've got a accreditation that you don't. So I was right. We are going to be... Sorry, audience, if you were expecting me to have a dig at Craig. I've actually picked this, or moreover, suggested we do cover it because I thought it sounded interesting that Craig's calling out a bullshitty flat earther. And typically, we're the ones doing that, right? We're the ones pointing at bullshitting flat earthers and getting angry with them, alongside also pointing out bullshitting globe believers. But in this case, there's a crossover where it's interesting to hear Craig getting compliments from me especially, because he's calling out a bullshitting flat earther. So, you know, if that's not for you, and you're like, it's going to fry your noodle hearing me going, kudos, Craig, yes, that's right, he is a bullshitter, isn't he? Then maybe switch off. This may be not the show for you. Because that's, I think, going to happen more. It's already happened once, and that was what I suspected was going to be the case. So if you don't like me complimenting Craig, not just on him looking a bit more healthy than he has done in years gone by, but in terms of his actual calling out bullshittery, then yeah, this may not be your show. Sorry.
You do not have the academic accreditation to award any titles. You do not have the ability to award yourself a doctorate, to call yourself a doctor. That is an official title that you are co-opting and taking when you have not earned it, and it is
yeah, I completely agree. I mean, we would have the same exact criticism of Professor Dave, who's not a professor, Greg. So we have the same irritating, bugbears with people on your side. We deliver the same criticism to them. It's only reasonable that we should side with you when you do this to what is pretending to be one of our own, a flat earther. So yeah, rude, right? He hasn't got this qualification. He's not a professor. I mean, whatever this guy's saying, he isn't.
Extremely dishonest. And the fact that you would actually...
Extremely dishonest to call yourself a professor when you're not. Professor Dave explains. Yeah, okay, got it.
Introduce yourself as Dr. Stephen Alonso. Straight away shows that you aren't here in any good kind of faith. You're here to lie to people, Stephen.
Well, I'm not.
Oh, I see. So the conclusion I can draw from Professor Dave explains is that he's not here in good faith, and Professor, not a professor, lying, giving himself accreditations he hasn't been awarded, is here to lie to people. We can make that assumption like Craig has just pointed out. Okay, Craig, thank you for laying down this standard. Professor Dave explained not in good faith. We can only assume what we already knew to be the case. He's a bullshitting liar. Yeah, we know. Like this guy, right? He's going to be full of it too.
I'm not aware of any legal regulations overseeing.
No, you're not going to be hauled over the legal coals for lying, yeah? Like, Dave's not going to get arrested for calling himself a professor when he's not. But that isn't really the standard, not breaking the law. Yeah, isn't what Craig put to you, is it, dickhead? He didn't say you're breaking the law. Yeah? He said it's irritating to people who have earned this accreditation. That's what he put to you. Maybe pay attention to what he actually says.
Private accreditations. And the second point
there's many of them. For instance, the American governing body, literally shows, I can't remember the exact name of it, but they are officially given the ability by the American government to give these accreditations, and they can attribute fines and other punishments to people that award themselves doctors and give themselves the title doctors in official capacity, which, Stephen, you have done on many, many occasions.
So Professor Dave explains, is the same applicable to him, or is it just doctors where they can fine people for pretending to be doctors, like pretending to be a policeman? Yeah, is Professor Dave explains off the hook because he hasn't quite been so egregious as to call himself a doctor, therefore, what, all cool? No, I'd say he's still doing the exact same egregious thing, not in good faith, automatically assumed to be a liar. But you're levelling that there could actually be a crime and fines to this guy. Oh, how interesting.
It is actually something that...
Oh,
Sorry.
God.
We were only speaking about this only the other day, about this issue. About if one of us on our side, I don't know, I just came in here. I don't know who it is that's been accused of calling themselves a professor or a doctor or whatever. But I said the other day that if one of us was saying that, if I started calling myself Dr. Brian online,
I think it was King.
Right?
King Brian.
Right, it'd be worse though if I said Dr. Brian, because King is wishy-washy, right? We live in a world of government and governmental bodies. So if I start and universities, so I start calling myself Dr. Brian, right? The ballers would have an absolute uproar over that. I'd be hauled over the coals, as you would say. But it's okay for Professor Dave to go around calling himself a professor, which means he's saying he basically has a PhD. So it's okay for him to do that. There's not a word about it. The double standards are atrocious, aren't they? Not that I ever want to call myself Dr. Brian, but the point is that if I did start calling myself Dr. Brian without being a doctor, it would not be accepted by our opposing side at all. But they accept it when they do it. Not bizarre.
I mean, us drawing this parallel, or me specifically drawing this parallel with Craig to Professor Dave, is just that, right? It's us getting this parallel to be drawn. And I don't think up until now there has been opportunities to draw this parallel. So I know you're saying when it's them doing it, they wouldn't call them out on it. What, because Professor Dave hasn't been called out on his own side? Maybe he has, maybe behind a closed door. You don't know that, is my point. But my point right here, right now, is that we can only draw that parallel for the audience's benefit, can we? And they can draw their own conclusions about other people who are doing the same thing that Craig is levelling at this guy's door, and how egregious it might be for the doctor bit versus the professor bit is kind of neither here nor there. It's like he's levelling it at him, and there are other examples on the ball side that we'll draw that parallel with as we go. I think that's only fair. Anything else, or should I press play?
That could
That was
get you
pretty
into
wishy-washy.
legal trouble. So
So,
You calling me wishy-washy? Cheeky
That
bastard.
was wishy-washy. That was vague. It's like, no, they're not calling a professor Dave. Because for being not a professor. They're not doing that. They're quite happy to refer to him as Professor Dave. They're not doing that. They're not doing it in the background. They're not doing it at all.
And have you called this guy out?
I don't know who he is. It doesn't matter.
And does Dave know who Professor does Craig know who Professor Dave is?
Absolutely, he does.
How do you know that?
Are you for real? That Craig McNeil doesn't know who Dave
Come on,
Farina.
Nathan. We're all in
Come
the
on.
same arena.
I'm
You
done.
say
I'm
it
done.
yourself.
I'm done.
Look, I'm just saying, right, I want to start from a level playing field where I don't make any assumptions about what's going on. I can only draw the parallels as they present themselves, and that's what I'm doing. Along with unboxing a microphone.
Nathan, we're all a part of the same arena, right? Whether we like it or not, we're in this little cesspool, all right? So he knows about Professor Dave, and I don't even know, does Simon Dan claim to be something? So they got to hold them, too, if they're going to hold this guy.
I don't know if you call being a Simon being a claim of something. We just deal with what's on the screen right now and nothing else, if that's okay with you. Right, Simon, that was yesterday.
I asked a question. I said, I don't know if he is.
So I find it extremely disrespectful. And the thing is, Stephen, I don't want to harp on this, but I want you to know that I know and that everybody else knows that you are a liar.
So the second point I was going to say, does it matter the field? For example, my
Yes.
doctorate degree is in geocentric cosmology. I'm
There's
not
no such
claiming
thing.
that
You've made that up.
science.
Let's be clear.
Yeah, I get this criticism, right? So, sorry, Craig. It's one of them where you just need to let him hang himself now. Pot, kettle, yeah, I do this all the time. So you're rumpusing in Molly Diggs's grave, because what he started saying was something like, I've got a degree in geocentric made-up bullshit. That's what I started to hear before you started finding it egregious. And I don't blame you, because what you're hearing is him try and justify his bullshittery, right? And it's offensive to you, Craig. I get it. But I get this criticism, so I'm going to level it at you. So it's not like I'm giving you a criticism that I don't have to endure. Let him hang himself. Would anybody disagree with that? In the nicest possible way to my opponent, Craig, here.
No, let him hang himself.
Clear. There's no such thing. There's no official courses in geocentric cosmology. There is no official accredited institution.
Yeah, this is the thing. We know that, right? And maybe your Craig's audience is more dumb and they need that pointing out. But yeah, we know. But it was more amusing hearing him justify, like, that was a reasonable excuse.
That has the ability to award that as a doctor or any kind of course, Stephen. So, no, you are lying with the whole thing because you made up a fake university and then awarded yourself a fake degree. It's like creating your own event, coming last in it, and still giving yourself a trophy.
We thought there had to be a better way than this.
It's
Which is why it
dishonest,
matters how
it's
we-
lying, and you know it is. I don't want to harp on about this, but I wanted that to be the start of this. So
Yeah, I mean, you are harping on about it, and fair enough.
anyone watching,
I don't believe I'm
straight
lying.
away
Was that you? Was that someone on my panel? Or was that him?
sees that you, Stephen, you are only here to lie to people. You've started with a lie, and everybody knows that it's a lie, and we fully expect you to continue with lies. So I just wanted you to
I do understand where you're coming from for sure. I would hope no one would feel they're competing against me when my
no one,
field
no,
is...
no, no, don't.
What a wanker. I mean, this is what we have to deal with. This is really interesting, isn't it? This is how ballers deal with us. He's pissing down Craig's back now, isn't he? That's how we would describe it when a baller does that to us. You know?
It gets worse. Alonzo's really good about staying mellow. I'll give him that credit. I also think I heard firsthand from him that he got paid $300 for this debate. So there's that. But he's really good at just being mellow and saying, I understand where you're coming from, man, and then moving on. So that's the only credit I'll give him. And Craig is just likes hearing himself appeal to his own incredulity. If he'd let Alonzo talk, then he would have definitely gotten a chance to hang him in the end after he talks about all of his BS. But his interruptions just helped move on things to another part. When this section is done at 12:50, they get to an actual flat Earth kind of concept. But
why you're a flat earther and what evidence you have for your case.
Yeah, so I guess...
I will yield you the floor for the next 5 minutes, okay?
Yeah, I can give a quick little 5-minute overview. So I guess growing up, I was taught the standard heliocentric globe model and never really got exposed to anything else. So
your opener as a flat earther is to tell us how you got taught the globe model. Poor start.
once I got older and started...
Just got to overcome this shit. Sorry, audience, for interrupting immediately. Earth's measured flat. Why am I a flat earther? That's how Earth start with, in every single respect. If you want to believe you're on a ball, as you've opened with that, point out how the ball requires flat Earth prerequisites to be measured to create it. Not just tell us how you were trained in being a ball. Yeah, wow, that's not really unique or fascinating. So maybe open, if you're a flat earther, I speak to my audience in general, and you're in this position, then open with Earth being measured flat. Because it is, for everyone, always. Open with how you were trained in something that isn't what you're being asked. Why flat Earth? Because it's measured that way. Simple.
Started studying...
You just say agreed?
Yeah, I agree with that, because you could always go into your testimony after, but lay it down. Lay down the evidence. Shoot them with the silver bullet.
Globe science as well. For example, how does a solar eclipse work? Not a lot of people are aware of this, but in the standard high school, we only have a very brief overview of cosmology. So it's very easy to fall for the mainstream understanding. And once I got a...
What mainstream understanding would that be? We've got cyclical motion of the lights in the sky tracked with respect to the angle measurements taken from a flat plane. Now, whether or not that's converted into heliocentrism as you've launched in that as your starting point. So is this guy a flat earther, did you say? Doesn't seem like it. Yeah. Me? I'm going to tell you about heliocentric orbital motion, creating the perceived motion of the lights in the sky that are tracked because they're cyclical. I mean, this is garbage. Who is this guy?
A better understanding of how it actually works, I started realizing that...
You don't have that. I mean, you've got the same tracked angle measurements to the lights in the sky and the cyclical motion that they follow. Now, we can use that till the ends of eternity if we wish, because it's cyclical. It's a pattern. So we can ascribe GP positions in almanacs forever. We will always know that cycle, therefore we always know where the light's going to be above at what time in the almanacs. So we know the patterns, that's it. As for how it works... Go on, Brian.
No. The almanacs these days are globe-centric, right? They try and create a globe via pre-assuming the likes of the celestial dome is actually a dome. So the almanacs are corrupted. So yeah, the cycles are the cycles, but how they're interpreted and given to us via almanacs and stuff is not always honest. So that wouldn't be correct. I had to say that.
In terms of the patterns and how you can apply them to an almanac, they could make an almanac for 1,000 years into the future, and it would be accurate. Now, you're saying that the angle measurements that they utilise when describing them in the almanac are suggested to be globe-centric because they project the light with respect to a celestial sphere? Is that what you've just said, or did I miss something?
Yeah, it's all connected. Centered around the celestial dome. Celestial dome is not real.
No, I didn't think it was.
They try and give it a solidity or a reality to then mathematically come up with a sphere. Right. And that's what they do. So they can give you 1,000 years into the future, but there'll be 1,000 years of the same rhetoric if they keep doing what they're doing the same way. It all started changing back in the 1700s. So
yeah.
They're not all the almanacs are not the cycles will never change, but the almanacs would then don't need to change from how they are today. But that doesn't mean how they are today is honest. It'll be still dishonest for 1,000 years. Adam would be a better person to talk to about it because he's investigated that a little bit more than me, and 10th man as well. But what I'm saying is true.
I don't disagree. We're not. Neither of us are disagreeing with each other. I instinctively think you're disagreeing with me, but you were not, right? And you're saying no matter how much an almanac specifically details where GPs will be in the times and such, that will still be globe-centric because it's an almanac, right? That is what an almanac is. It's
to a point, not really. It isn't. It is. They're still using a flat plane at all times. Right, they're still using their equinox.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Because they're pre-established celestial dome, that dome is always going to be half of their globe. That's how they projected it. So it's kind of it's not total. The almanacs aren't totally corrupt, but corrupted enough. And if they stay that way, they stay that bit corrupt. So the cycles aren't corrupt. They're just a cycle. They'll be the same all the time, forever. But the almanac is corrupted enough for them to use it.
Yeah, I understand. In terms of the dual hemispheric, if we'll call it such, north and south systems projected with respect to the horizontal plane parallel with the surface to give you that angular representation as a dome, to then take the cycles from that mathematized version of a reality that's measuring the sky flat and just ascribing angles to it. If you then turn that into a dome, you're essentially taking your protractor and the numbers that it gives you and saying that is the sky. It wraps around me hemispherically because of these angles. And from there, you can then turn that into the positional data on the plane at vernal equinox. But that's designed to be transformative in terms of its heliocentric nature. Therefore, there's just enough, as Brian's putting it, for them to say it's heliocentric in an almanac.
No. They remove heliocentrism. It allows them to infer lobe mathematically. What they do is over a flat plane, they pre-assume a celestial dome, right? That what they are seeing in that celestial dome will change on what our position is upon the Earth. They then, at vernal equinox, right, they are pre-assuming that they're on a massive stationary plane and that the celestial bodies are moving. So not heliocentric. But once they then pre-assume that off of that flat plane that they're dealing with a dome, they then can create a hemisphere and a globe, right, as a projection back down, taking the person that's actually the surface the person is standing on and moving them up onto a curved surface. And then when you have that curved surface, after that they start claiming heliocentrism. But the almanac has actually nothing to do with heliocentrism. It's just corrupted enough for them to recreate or to create the sphere that is a reprojection of the celestial sphere, which doesn't exist. It's purely mathematical. You know what I mean? They have it corrupted enough so they can use it. And kind of make loose claims that it supports them when it actually doesn't support them. It's corrupted enough for them to be able to create what they need to mathematically create. It's kind of difficult to explain in some ways. If they weren't pre-assuming the sky was a dome, they wouldn't be able to create a hemisphere. You understand?
Yeah.
Take away that pre-assumption.
No, I totally get
because
it.
it's not real. Then they can't make it. They have to go a different route.
Well, you can't describe it as is. And even as I say this, you're probably going to find flaw in what I'm about to say. But either way, if you try and describe it as is, you're describing a parallel plane of the sky with a parallel plane of the ground. That's what you're actually dealing with. To be able to infer the angles to them when measured, and then infer a North Pole centric system to tie it to. But ultimately, you are just measuring a flat sky versus a flat ground, and saying that these angles wrapped around my position are the angles that I see of these lights. That's the system. But that is... you can't describe that as Brian's putting it in a hemispheric or spherical view from the plane at vernal equinox. If you describe it as is, it bears no resemblance to heliocentrism or geocentrism or the plane at vernal equinox or a globe wrapped around you. None of those things are conducive with how the world actually presents itself.
Well, no, it does present itself geocentric, just not as a globe. You can't have a geocentric globe. That's a whole separate issue. What it is if you pre-assume the sky is curved, you can then pre-assume that you can reproject from that curved sky a curved surface above the flat plane you stand upon, and then mathematically place yourself on that made-up mathematical curved surface. But what is the celestial dome? The whole point of the celestial dome, right, is to orthographically represent perspective measurement. We don't measure anything orthographic. We don't view things orthographic. Orthographic binoculars and glasses don't exist. We don't see orthographically. We see perspectively. But what the celestial dome allows people to do is orthographically place a point on this dome, right, of a two-dimensional piece of paper or whatever, if you want it, or mathematically. There is no celestial dome. The sky is not curved. And it is geocentric for us on a flat plane. We're geocentric. That's the reality. And that's what they have to adhere to at the end. At the very end, they adhere to a flat geocentric system. But they're still assuming an actual dome of the sky when that doesn't exist. There is no dome of the sky.
No, but there's a certain level of that claimed in geocentric assertions also, isn't there? So you've got to be careful when you're like, well, it can be geo.
There isn't. There is no geocentric globe. Let me talk about that separately, privately. There is no. I haven't talked to you about that, so I know you don't know. There was no globe before Kepler. There cannot be a geocentric globe. So if you can only be a geocentric stationary plane, that's it. Anyway, look, I'm not going to keep on at this because this is not the full topic. It's just that when you brought it up, we need to talk about this more fully.
Okay, I'll go back to Greg.
The flat Earth model kind of has a more realistic representation of how our universe actually works. Now, for evidence, I want to clarify that positive proof is very different from evidence, and to also clarify that in science, hypotheses are always open to falsification, yours and mine as well. But I believe at the current state of our scientific understanding, it all points towards the flat Earth model representing, you could say, the more realistic, more accurate, more by chance of how the universe works. So I guess there's 4 points I could probably go over quickly. The first would be the sun and the moon appearing the same size. If you want to believe...
Yeah, he said hypotheses are always open to falsification. No, half of the hypothesis, you're not falsifying. Well, It's not that they're open to falsifications. It's that it either causes B or it doesn't. I mean, you may be because half of it is a falsification. So you're saying A will either cause B with half of your hypothesis, or you're saying A won't cause B with the other half. So which side is it true? Is it correct to say that you're falsifying? I don't think that's correct.
Even the globe heliocentric model, you have to believe that just by chance the sun is 400 times farther away while the moon is 400 times smaller, so they just appear the same size. And to make it worse, under globe theory, you don't really have creations. You have to rely on Big Bang cosmology to make that chance work. And to me, that doesn't seem realistic. I believe in creation, and I found that, yeah, the sun and moon probably are the exact same size. Let's see, a second point, I guess in regards to faking of space, I would say that if space travel was possible, they wouldn't always have to fake it. Now, this goes back to the early moon landings. It could go back to...
Check. Can you hear me? Is this working? Check 1, 2. Nobody's answering me.
Yeah, I can hear you. You're kind of low.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about the volume level. It's more that can you hear me or can't you? Because I'm just testing whether or not this microphone works. Well, one channel of this microphone at least.
Yeah, I can hear you, yeah.
Okay.
Hear you fine.
Jolly good. I'll just check the other channel.
Elon Musk putting a red Tesla Roadster in space, even the recent Katy Perry trip. Let me see. I made a couple notes as well about the other, you could say, evidences. Let me just see.
You're not going to believe what happened. Tell me everything. I'll show you.
Yeah, this is a really good one. The sun's ground position, which is objectively true. We both agreed on the ground position of the sun, no matter what model you believe in. But you find that the farthest north the sun goes is about 23.44 degrees of latitude. And the farthest south it goes is also negative 23.44 degrees of south latitude.
What's he on about? It's 23.4 exactly. Not the 23.44. This 0.4, this 23.44, 23.5. Like, this is nonsense that's been added in. Now, I don't even know if it's exactly 23.4, but if you were to do the maths on the current paradigm we're presented with, it's 23.4 exactly.
Just a quick, just need to check if it's working. Is this working?
Nathan, we're not hearing you. After the past 3 times I've spoken, you haven't said anything. It's the video started playing again. The time we've heard
Yeah, if you're testing a mic, yeah, we're hearing a crackling, a little bit of one word, and that's about it if you're testing a mic.
Okay, that mic's got an issue then. Okay, thank you.
And coincidentally, we find that the globe model uses that as its tilt. That's an additional step to make the globe model work, which I believe is a consequence of wrapping the real-life flat Earth around a ball. It's essentially reverse engineered from the flat Earth model, or you could say at the very basic, it's reverse engineered from the observer-centric observations. Both me and you can go outside and confirm where the sun is, do a celestial declination calculation, and confirm that ground position. We all agree on that. But I find it weird that the globe uses that as its tilt. And I guess for the final point, no spherical rotation of the moon. When I look at the moon, I see it rotating like a flat disk. You can argue concave or convex at best because there is like a little sides that appear more. But the point is, though, science operates on falsification. If we can falsify the globe spherical moon, it then points us towards a more realistic.
This guy is making a lot of claims that I don't know if he actually could back up. He might be able to back up some of it, but he sounds a little bit like time and date, where what he's claiming would be right some of the time, but not right other parts of the time. Do you know what I mean? He's just
he
accepting a
likes
lot of stuff.
he likes to make claims and then add a bunch of stuff that's all sciencey and technical things that he can then use on flat earthers and globers alike to say that we don't understand. He does that a lot. He also, I mean, he was making some good points about the sun's GP and where it's at. He could have also said that's how we measure it with when he said declination, it's measured that way. That's something that Craig can't argue. But he basically is doing a bunch of sciencey stuff that goes into his little flat Earth textbook. That,
What does that mean, science and stuff?
Oh, I mean, he just goes into too extensive detail with his descriptions of what he's talking about. I can't. I mean, what he just said. The only
giving
part
them models. Why is he giving them a model?
Yeah.
And why is he declaring we're on a model?
Now, he absolutely has to have a model. And the problem is he's comparing both models. And so he gives validity to the globe model while he's affirming his flat Earth model. And he doesn't back up his concept of a flat Earth model with any measurements and stuff. It's all a bunch of things and claims that he can't back up. Like it's probably maybe further in the debate, but he talks about dome refraction and stuff like that for the 24-hour sun. Obviously,
he doesn't.
But he's got science. He's got science calculations and stuff. And he goes in.
There's no such thing as.
One second.
Just 1 second.
Okay.
Hold horses. Just a second. There is no such thing as science calculations. Right? There is no such thing as a globe model. There is no such thing as a flat Earth model. He's claiming a flat Earth model is no different than Gray claiming a globe model. These things do not exist. You're told they exist, right? The globe model, you're told they exist, and you're told is this model thing. They can never present it to you. But what they'll do is they try and look for you to claim a flat Earth model so they can hold it up as a straw man and burn it in a debate. There is no such thing as a globe model. Ask someone to present it to you. What will they present? I know what they're going to present. They can't present what they're claiming to be a globe model. He's like, as you're saying, he's using a lot of. He's not using science. He's not using anything. He's making claims that he can't support. That's what this guy is doing. And unfortunately, he's just doing the same as Craig would do, just at the opposite in an opposite paradigm.
It's almost like you're suggesting
I'm not attacking you. I'm just trying to educate. Sorry, Nathan.
Well, you're just to back Brian up, and I'm not disagreeing with Surf Daddy, but it's almost like Brian suggesting this keeps the feast of nonsense alive with a false dichotomy.
Absolutely. And I'm not saying he's not. He actually, his use of a model and all of that and all in the model actually makes his case worse. And that's what I absolutely hate about him is that he's using these false dichotomy models against each other. And he ends up defending the globe because the globe uses the same science or whatever that the flat Earth does, and it's just a mess. If you've had to put up and listen to him for a year or so,
you might be better off saying pseudoscience.
No, it's not. What you're basically saying, Soft Daddy, is that he's claiming to have scientific evidence for a flat Earth. Right? There's no such thing. It's a complete category. You can't have scientific evidence for the geometry of the Earth. So he's no different in that way than from what you're saying, taking it on your testimony. He's no different than what Craig is saying. He's just doing it from the opposite, as I said, the opposite paradigm. As Nate would say, keeping the peace and nonsense alive.
Yeah, and he would tell you, I understand where you're coming from, Brian. I get it. And then he'd move on. So yeah,
so he knows.
Get it. I've even told him personally that it's pseudoscience, it's nonsense, blah blah blah. He just moves on. So it is what it is. That's why.
Yeah, he'll placate you. He'll placate you. He'll try and say, "Oh, I can see where you're coming from," and then move on. When he doesn't care where you're coming from, he has an agenda that he's pushing in the story. You know what I mean?
Oh, it helps. It also helps him get out.
It's a soft FU is what he's giving you there.
Yeah, well, it helps him get out of the topic too, and that's how he can move on without having to defend his position.
I just want to check you can hear the other side of this mic. I've checked both sides now. Can you hear me clearly enough?
Yes.
Now, yes.
Jolly good.
An accurate model, which I believe is the flat Earth model. So yeah, that's 1 minute left for me.
Wonderful. None of those were evidence, but I guess we can go through them. Just so you're aware, there's no such word as evidences. It's just evidence. Sun and moon, same size. Well, they don't even appear to be the same size. That's why during an eclipse you can actually see the ring of fire around the outside, because the sun appears slightly larger. But I mean, I could do some magic trickery with my camera for a second if you want, and you know. So.
Sorry. There is Craig pre-assuming that it's definitely the moon that's going in front of the sun. Number one. Number two, the ring of fire is to do with glow. Right? It's the glow off of it. It's that the moon doesn't have that glow because it doesn't have that intensity of light.
Johnny Cash, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? He's like it's pre-assumptive.
And it burns. Like the ring of fire. Like the ring of fire.
We were trying to get Refracted to do that, and he would not. You know what he said, Nathan? I will not disrespect Johnny Cash.
These are clearly, the diameter of these circles are not the same. But, what if I did this, right? And now we get the diameters of the circle to be the same. Look.
Okay, yeah, so what you're doing is scaling heliocentric notions that are derived from flat Earth elevation angles and suggesting that the reification after the fact gives you different distances based on perspective. That's what Craig's doing. Okay? Where did you get the measurements to scale, Craig? Oh, right, angle measurements off flat Earth. Yeah? What are you going to do? Tell me I don't understand geometry? Yeah, we measure Earth flat for this.
Look at that. They're now the same size.
I agree.
Right, do they appear to be the same size, Stephen?
Yes, Craig, they do, yeah. I mean, they don't. You haven't quite got the force perspective correct. But that doesn't matter. I get your point, Craig. If you can show in physicality that there are different distances, but then they seem to be the same size, even though they're not. But your heliocentric scale comes from measurements of a flat Earth in the first instance, to then infer the scale on top of it. Yeah? Kepler and Huygens in this instance. That's what you're actually using for your rhetoric in your globe paradigm. Just so we're all clear, Earth's measured flat for Craig's notion of a perspective-based argument that he's offering here.
Yeah, roughly, yeah.
Yeah, but they're not, are they? Right? I can hold my thumb up and cover that entire car that's across the road. Is my thumb bigger than the car, Stephen?
I'd have to see your thumb in person. I haven't got any...
It's just the bunk with globe. There is no perspective or angular size on the globe. And the perspective, we only talked about this last night in QEs. QE love it right now. The perspective he is referring to with the celestial bodies. How could that exist for them when they wouldn't know what perspective is? They don't know how far away these things are. They don't know what medium they're seeing them through. Do you know what I mean? All this, they claim perspective for celestially, but they ignore it terrestrially. So if they ignore it terrestrially, how can Craig make the statement he just made? Number one, and number two, how could they ever know what perspective was? Technically, that word, right? If we lived in their paradigm, that word and its meaning would not exist.
Right. Any other things to add? Because I'm going to round out this live show momentarily.
Yeah, I just want to that's a QE argument, Brian. You're just using a QE argument.
I'm not using the Kiwi Yarwin. Well, I actually have something to add. You're very enthusiastic, Nathan, after bringing in some pretty solid information there in the past 45 minutes. And you're going, yeah, whatever, okay, whatever. I expect a bit more enthusiasm.
No, Brian, I'm going to tell you what's going on. And this is exactly what's going on. When I was doing Instacart, it's like me doing Instacart, then stopping and installing a tile floor, then going back and doing Instacart, then jumping and doing the carpet floor. You know, not focused on one thing. That's what's happening now.
Outrageous.
Yeah.
Right, I've just put a link to the video that we've been covering, which is called A Flat Earth, quote, debate, end quote, FTfE versus fake, quote, Dr., end quote, Stephen Alonso. So please let Craig McNeil, which is the videographer's YouTube channel, know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get removed by the YouTube algorithmic bots or the YouTube videographer himself, in this case, Craig McNeil. So please let Craig know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Help Craig along in the YouTube algorithm in the way that we as flat earthers definitely do not receive any algorithmic assistance whatsoever. The hope being that if Craig was to cover one of our videos, he would extend the same courtesy to me and put a link to my video if he was doing a live stream like I'm doing on him. So if he was to react to me, he'd say, here's a link to Nathan's video. That's the idea, at least. But with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, hit me up on PayPal and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.